I, 32 am currently sitting in my custom-built home, enjoying a glass of expensive bourbon in total silence, and honestly, the silence has never sounded so good. My wife, 30F, moved the last of her things out 2 weeks ago, and the path to get here was a literal minefield of entitlement, lies, and a level of audacity I didn't know existed outside of reality TV. We'd been married for 5 years. I'm a senior software architect. She's a marketing director. We made great money, had a solid investment portfolio, and a post-nup we signed 3 years ago when I got a massive promotion. That document ended up being my shield. The whole thing started 3 months ago on a random Tuesday. She sat me down, looking all teary-eyed, and told me she was pregnant. I was buzzing with excitement for about 5 seconds before she dropped the hammer. She told me she needed space to think about us and had already booked an Airbnb for a month. She claimed she wasn't sure if our marriage was the right environment for a child and needed to find herself. The red flags didn't just wave, they caught fire. Who gets pregnant and immediately moves out to think about a stable, high-earning husband? I'm a data guy, so I didn't argue. I just said, of course, and watched her pack. The second she left, I went into deep dive mode. I checked our phone logs and saw she'd been calling a specific number daily for months, usually while I was at the gym. Then I saw a $400 charge at a jewelry store for a man's watch I'd never seen. I didn't waste time crying. I called my lawyer. I told him I wanted to petition for a non-invasive prenatal paternity test, NIPP, the moment she hit the 10-week mark. I also had him move our liquid assets into a holding trust. Since she'd technically initiated a separation by moving out, we triggered the protection of assets clause in our postnup to prevent her from draining the joint accounts. A week later, she tried to blow $5,000 on a wellness retreat with her friends, her affair partner, as I later found out. The card was declined. She called me screaming about financial abuse and how I was stressing out a pregnant woman. I stayed ice cold. I told her, the freeze stays until we get the paternity results. My lawyer sent yours the request for the NIPP. See you at the lab Friday, or the stipend stays at 0. She showed up to the lab, looking like she wanted to kill me. She brought her best friend, the kind of person who thinks living your truth is a valid excuse for being a terrible human being. They spent the whole time whispering about how controlling I was. 10 days later, the results hit my inbox. Probability of paternity, 0%. I wasn't the father. The space she needed was her trying to decide if her lover, some jobless guy from her gym, could provide for her. When she realized he couldn't, she started texting me about nursery colors and missing our bed. I forwarded the 0% result to her and her parents immediately. An hour later, she burst into the house using her spare key, hysterical. She claimed the test was faulty and that I was a monster for doubting her. The lab is ABB accredited, I told her. It's 99.9% accurate. And I know about the gym guy. Did you give him that $400 watch too? She flipped the script instantly. She went from crying to threatening. She told me she wouldn't leave the house and that if I tried to kick her out, she'd call the cops and tell them she felt unsafe. In our state, a domestic call can get a man kicked out of his own house for 30 days regardless of proof.
She thought she had me.
Check the ceiling, I said, pointing to the new 4K security cams I'd installed the day she moved out. They record audio. You just admitted the kid isn't mine, admitted the affair, and threatened a false police report. Go ahead, call them. I'd love to show the officers the footage. She turned white. But the real kicker was the gift I had waiting. I'd hired a private investigator who followed her boyfriend while she was at her Airbnb. She'd been letting him drive my Audi, the one registered solely in my name with a GPS tracker I pay for. My PI saw him making deliveries in bad neighborhoods. He called in a tip, and the cops caught him with 3 ounces of distributable substances in the trunk of my car. I looked her in the eye and told her, your boyfriend is in county lockup for a felony. The cops found your Airbnb address in his GPS and your jewelry in the glove box next to his bags. The DA is looking at you as an accomplice for providing the vehicle, but I can make it go away. I laid out the deal. Signed the mutual release papers, waive all alimony, acknowledge the paternity results so I'm never on the hook for child support, and leave in 20 minutes. In exchange, I'd give a statement to the DA via my lawyer that she was a victim of manipulation and didn't know about the drugs, which would likely keep her from being indicted. The entitlement vanished. She realized her leverage was gone, and she was looking at potential prison time. She signed the papers with a shaking hand. I had an Uber waiting in the driveway. She tried to call me a monster one last time as she dragged her suitcases out, but it lacked any real sting. The next day, she tried to start a smear campaign on social media, claiming I abandoned a pregnant wife. I didn't even type a response. I just posted a link to a private folder containing the 0% paternity test and the audio of her admitting the truth in the kitchen. The entire support group she'd built up went silent. Her boyfriend took a plea deal for 5 years. She had to move into her parents' basement in another state. Her dad was so disgusted he made her sign a house rules contract just to stay there. She's now very pregnant, very broke, and very much realizing that the space she wanted is exactly what she got. A life with absolutely no one in it. I'm 32. I kept my house, my 401k, and my peace of mind. Turns out, the best way to deal with someone who thinks they're entitled to your life is to show them exactly how expensive that life is when they have to pay for it themselves. If you're looking for a partner who won't treat your marriage like a trial subscription, hit that subscribe button. I promise my stories are always 100% mine, unlike my ex's miracle baby.